I want to talk very quickly about enterprise agreements and how you might deal with an enterprise agreement. Should your organisation or should another organisation that you work with or consult to has one. So I think the first thing to understand, so most enterprise agreements are for 3 or 4 years in duration, some are less. And the most important thing is that when you've got an agreement that's expiring, don't wait. Most enterprise agreements, or a lot of enterprise agreements, will be negotiated with unions because unions either have members in the workplace or they were the ones that originally sought the enterprise agreement to be negotiated in the first place. So the best thing to do is, if you've got an enterprise agreement, is to make sure you're doing early planning. Make sure 6 to 8 months before your expiry, you're planning for the upcoming enterprise agreement. So a lack of planning puts your organisation in reaction mode, weakens your negotiation position. And the thing to be doing in the early planning in particular is consider, okay, what is good about this current EBA that we've got? What do we want to maintain? And what are we not happy with? And there's nothing wrong with going into an enterprise agreement negotiation as a company representative wanting something out of it. Many organisations, when they deal with enterprise agreements, they just think, well, it's all about what the union and employees want and ask for, and it's just a case of, dealing with all of those claims. That's not how an enterprise agreement has to work. An enterprise agreement can very well be, you want these things in this enterprise agreement, we want these things in this enterprise agreement. Bearing in mind that once you've got one enterprise agreement in place, it can be very, very hard to get certain conditions out of it in future agreements. So that's always the challenge, is that once you've agreed to an enterprise agreement once, that's going to form a very strong basis for future enterprise agreements. And really what you're talking about changing is the kind of the 5 to 10%ers in the agreement. You're not going to completely rip the agreement up and start again. That's just unrealistic thinking. And that's probably the biggest takeaway I'd say for everyone out of today, that if you're in an enterprise agreement and it's not working that well, then you might have to change it over a long period of time. So consider what changes could be sought. Remember, everything's not possible. Consider what competitors might be doing. Anticipate what the union might be doing as well, and how you might anticipate what the union might be doing is, again, talking with the competitors, sharing information about claims if you've got that relationship with your competitors. Consider your communication strategy with employees. So there is certain compliance obligations. You must notify employees that they have it's called a notice of employee representational rights, so that they have the right to be represented in an enterprise agreement negotiation. It's a formal Fair Work Commission document that is issued. And then start considering your new agreement skeleton. So if it's the first time you've done an enterprise agreement, you can work on something from scratch, which might be based on the modern award with some changes. Or alternatively, if it's your old agreement, well then look at your old agreement. Okay, what's the skeleton going to be for the new agreement, and tweak the areas that you would like to see change. So that's the sort of stage one, which is the early planning.